One. Hey, welcome back to Dirtbag Baseball Talk, everybody. Great to have you here as always. And as we promised from last week's episode with Drew Avens, AAA player with the Los Angeles Dodgers and co-creator of the Rip Rip Pro, I would be following up this week with his co-creator, Sullivan, and he's going to be talking about this project, this invention, this concept, and this, well, awesome product for hitting from the parent side. So you've got the player side with Drew on understanding where he came from in this whole process, to Trey's component of, hey, you know what, as a parent, once he got his head wrapped around what it was able to do for his son and see and speak with his son about it, hey, this needs to be out to the masses. This needs to be out to everybody, not just my own little secret, right, Tress? So welcome to the show,
Absolutely.
brother. Great to have you.
Thank you very much, Kirk. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking on Drew last week, and you guys did a fantastic job. So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like I said, Dirtbags, you know what? Trace is just like Drew, and you know, your salt of the earth person. When I got to know him and he reached out to us to see if we'd take on and collaborate with him on this project, I could tell within 5 minutes it was a no-brainer. He's just like us. He does not believe in hard sales. He does not believe in ramming it down your throat. If you're a believer at the end of the day, or you want to find more information, as simple as that, about the Rip Rip Pro at the end of the day, that's fine. If that's where it starts, that's where it starts. So that's why it was a no-brainer for us to bring him on board. So Trace, you're going down this road. You've got a product now after many prototypes. When the process started and you started wrapping your head around what Drew was working with your son, and I know you call him Sully, and so
yes.
Sully, when he was working with Sully, what was it like at first when you started hearing this concept where you just kind of like, where is this coming from? How does this relate to baseball? Were you blown away or?
yeah, it was. I really didn't know much about it. I knew what he was doing with it, and I couldn't. Drew can tell when Sully started hitting balls the way that he wanted him to start hitting them, and he could tell right away. I just don't see baseball like I don't hit baseballs. I'm not, like Drew, where he sees it every day, and so for him it was instant. At the point, I really didn't. It was great. He was getting out. That's kind of where it ended. And then it was about a month later where I went to Drew and I said, "Do you really believe in this?" And then he said, "Yeah, I absolutely do." And so at that point, I started, kind of diving into a little bit more about what it does, what it, the feel it gives for Drew. Because at that point I was like, okay, if Drew had mentioned to me, I would like something that I could take into a game with, and that was kind of the issue. And so then my mind started, okay, so let's if this is something you believe in, let's try to take it to the next level, maybe build something that you could wear into a game. And then at that point I started diving exactly what it does, what kind of feel, right? They're always talking feel that you're trying to create. And at that point I started, my background's football, and so I played baseball and I know how to hold a bat and swing a bat and things like that, but I don't know the intricacies of the swing. And so at that point I started diving into, okay, so how does this help you? What's the process? And so that's when I started figuring out, all right, what it does, and putting it in my hand and trying to feel what those guys were trying to feel. So it was a learning process for me, because I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand what the baseball feel was and what they were trying to create. And so, but there were other people around us, other instructors that used the product as well, or the ball that we had, golf ball, and they understood what it was doing. They understood the feel that it was creating and things like that. So then once that started happening, I was like, okay, then there's something to this let's take the next step and see what we can do with it.
Yeah. So there you go again, Dirtbags. The whole reason we're rolling it out this way is just to let you know you're not alone. The co-creator of Rip Grip Pro was you at one point and stuff. And so how long did that maturation in the process of understanding what it was capable of doing for the player as a hitter? What was the timeline roughly like for that? And obviously
So
it'll vary player to player, but for your situation.
right,
And you're talking about
right.
How old is Sully?
He's 12.
He's 12. So we're talking about a 12-year-old player.
So when he started using it, it was 10. When he started with the ball, it was 10. And so it was in the fall of 2020. And so the good thing is because of the success that Drew was having with the ball and teaching it to some of his students, and we had some other instructors around us, we were able to take that, and they started using the ball as well. And so it made it easier, to convince me that this works, because they were getting the results out of their students. And one quick story: Drew had a student, a softball player, and the dad was pitching to the girl, and she kept rolling it over. And well, Drew gave her the ball, and the dad told me, he goes, within 5 years, seen her hit a ball as good as she did until she started holding the ball. I mean, he says it was within 5 to 10 pitches, I knew exactly a difference in her swing. And so it was pretty instantaneously of the feedback that we were getting that this works. To a concept on paper, to us getting our first prototype and actually getting it into players' hands to start getting some feedback. So it was about a 4 to 6 month process before we actually got it into players' hands and started getting true feedback of what it could do.
Wow, and that's really not too bad of a timeline stuff for sure. So let's talk about the product itself. Okay, what are we talking about? What is the material it's made out of? Is it pliable? Is it tearable? Is it pretty much destruction proof? Or what can a person that's interested in the Yep.
So through the process, we went through a bunch of different materials, and our thought process was we wanted a one size fit all, for a couple of things, because most, and we designed it with batting gloves in mind. 90% of people wear batting gloves, so we wanted it to be a stretchable product to be able to put over batting gloves. And so the one size fit all was this. There are some issues with a few kids that have really small fingers, but it's been small. So our first round of we have not, nobody's reached out to us. Anybody that's bought one in the last year has reached out to us and told us it's broken. We assume that we can get, the unknown is that we can get 3,000 plus swings,
okay,
if not more, because nobody's gotten back to us.
Nope.
I think Drew, when we finally got product, Drew got into his hand, and Drew's probably during the off season, he's a 250 swings a day guy.
Sure.
Right. So it's a lot, and so we think it's pretty indestructible, and it'll last you. And we changed our design. Originally, we started with a solid core.
Okay.
You can see here,
Yep.
It was a solid core and a little bit heavier. There wasn't a whole lot of give to it, and eventually we ended up and settled on, this one where it's hollowed out a little bit. There's a little bit more give to it when it goes on the bat.
Sure.
Plus, it looks a little bit more sleek this way.
Yeah.
So it looks a little bit more modern.
For sure. For sure.
So originally the solid core was our first foundation, and that was where we got about 2,500 swings, I think, before one of them broke. And so, but since we changed the material, we feel really good about at least 3,000, if not more, because nobody's come back to us and says they've had an issue with tearing. And so we assume it'll last. We assume it'll last for a while. You're talking 3,000 swings. That's a lot of swings. Pro player, they don't swing 250 every day. It's in a certain window that when they start swinging the baseball bat, that they'll swing 250 times a day. But we assume it'll last quite a long time.
For sure. I mean, when you look at the price of them and stuff like that, and I know we're going to talk about that in a few seconds here or whatever, but the cost per swing is pennies on the dollar, as they say.
Yeah. So it's durable. My whole thought process in doing this, we wanted to do something. I'm a parent, right? And I'm trying to give my child the best opportunity to succeed. And I've come across so many things, right, in the baseball world that they say will help your child, achieve this if this is what you're trying to achieve. And so I went into it where, I'm a coach at heart, and so it's all about teaching. And so if this product helps teach a child to not do something, then I was all in.
I love it.
And because I know how hard it is to. I try to teach my son a little bit. I try to, and a lot of kids don't want to listen to their parents, and I understand. I get it. I get it. And we butt heads a bunch, and that's okay. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to teach my son. And so, but if I can give him a tool that's going to help him and understand, to help him feel like he's going to be a better player if I start doing this correctly, then I'm all in on it.
For sure. So let's talk about that. I mean, not only Sully's swinging with it or whatever, and that. What does your customer base look like? Are we talking minor leaguers to youth baseball, softball, and baseball? What are we talking about?
So I'm slow getting into the softball market because I'm in the baseball world,
sure,
just because of my son. And so, but I'm working on the softball side. I think the range runs. I think you can get it to 10 years old because I think at that point they've got an understanding of kind of what their swing is like, and when you're trying to correct them, they're creating feels, and I think for the youth, there's two things on the youth side is you want to teach them how to hold the bat correctly from an early age. It's hard once they get into what a lot of people call the death grip, where they squeeze the bat so hard. It's hard for them to change that, because in their mind, if they grip the bat hard, they're going to hit the ball hard.
Yeah.
And so, and then the other thing is it will help eliminate rollovers, because naturally what happens, and this is what I've learned over time with our product, is when your index finger and your middle finger are involved in a grip, they become the dominant fingers of the grip. And so what that causes you to do is when you swing, it forces you to roll because they're so dominant in the grip. Okay. So when you take those two fingers out of it, right, it releases the muscles in your forearm. And so now it becomes really hard to roll your wrist on contact.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to eliminate that when you roll over. You'll still roll the ball over if you're spinning on the baseball. It's not going to help that. But it's going to help, rolling your wrist over when you're doing at a young age, when you don't quite understand what that means. It's going to help eliminate that for younger players.
Yeah.
And
And
then
what
as
he's
you
talking
get
about there,
older,
Dirtbags, is what he's saying really, and I just so you understand, he's going to get you down on plane, what they call the hitting plane, and you're going to stay in that hitting zone, that hitting plane a lot longer. Through contact is what Tris is saying, into extension, and then it's automatically that it has to happen in the rollover. That's when the rollover should happen and needs to happen. But like he says, you're right, because of the strength, because of the swing type, and that a lot of young youth amateurs, exactly right, they don't have that strength, so it's almost on contact and it's shooting it over. So that's what he's talking about, Dirtbags, with that, just getting on plane and staying there a lot longer than just getting here and then rolling over.
Yes, and so I think that's where for the younger kids it helps them create that feel that you're trying to teach as an instructor as they get older. And as they get older and they understand what will cause rollovers and things like that. I think as a matter of fact, I had a major leaguer by three of them, and so it runs the gamut of from 10 years old all the way to minor leaguers. And I think when Drew came back from his first AAA season last summer, we sat down and I talked to him and I asked him, I was like, so give me your thoughts on the difference for you, right? Before you started using this and when you started using it and where you are now. And the biggest difference, and he showed me on video, okay? And I think, baseball people can understand this. Drew wanted to sooner, right? To get his barrel into the zone sooner, to get on plane sooner. So he showed me a video when during the summer when he of 2019 when he was prepping to go to spring training, and you could see in the video, even me, I video helped me because I wouldn't have understood unless he showed me, and so you could see in the video that his barrel was getting the plane just behind home plate. Okay. And then he showed me in his AAA season where all of a sudden the barrel of his bat is getting into the zone a foot and a half behind home plate.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, I could see it and understand. I go, if we slowed it down, I couldn't. If it was going full speed, I wouldn't have understood.
Yep.
But we slowed it down, and I go, oh, okay. So now, and then in my research and my talking, and I now understand, getting on plane, what everybody's trying to do, right? And so that's what it did for Drew. So for an older player, right? He wanted to get that. He wanted to get his barrel into the zone sooner, right? Because for them, they wanted to create some adjustability. The longer you're in the zone, the less errors that you can have, and so it runs the gamut for those older players that understand their swing. It creates length in their swing.
Sure.
It gets their barrel into the zone sooner, and so that's what it did for Drew, and that's why I think it runs. For me, because of what it teaches young kids and what I've seen, I think every kid should have one just to teach. They don't have to use it in games and things like that, but it teaches them the understanding of how to grip the bat correctly, and then they can take it off and know the difference between the death grip and how I should really want to be able to hold the bat. And so that's why it runs, 10 years old all the way to the minor leaguer that bought some.
Yeah,
to the major leaguer that bought some.
Absolutely, Trace. And Dirtbags, you'll remember Drew and I talked about it, and Drew was saying about it, back to what Trace was saying about his development. It wasn't only staying in the plane longer and online longer in his swing path. That should make sense. If I get to stay here, I got a way better chance of hitting that ball square, as we like to say in baseball, than down up. That's a pretty small chance to be able to be successful. That was one that improved. Two, instantly the opposite field power improved. I don't care who you are watching. I don't care where you are watching. We know unequivocally going oppo taco is a tough thing to learn. If those two things alone are improved through the Rip Grip Pro, I'm all over it. And that's why we put our stamp of approval on this product all day long. There's no question about it. Those two, hey, we're all going to learn how to hit the middle, down the middle, inside pitch. That's going to happen. But middle away, man, that's tough. That's tough. And so if those things can be improved, just like Trace is saying, that alone needs to be in your hands just to be able to feel that, learn that, and have that part of your baseball journey. I know you want to hop back in there. Go ahead, Tris.
Yeah. I mean, and that was, on a piggyback of what you and Drew talked about, is a lot of the feedback we got instantaneously was, I hit more balls hard opposite field than I ever have. And so in my research, and it's some of the stories that I've come across is really remarkable. And so really this originated, there's a guy named Craig Wallenbrock that's in the Dodgers organization. He's a consultant for the Dodgers, okay? And so he was the ball idea guy, okay? And so he brought it to the Dodgers, and obviously one of Drew's instructors, picked up on it and introduced it to Drew. Okay, so, and Craig Wallenbrock is an old instructor, and so in doing some research with him, JD Martinez is. JD Martinez was with the Diamondbacks, and I think he was scuffling a little bit. He went to Craig Wallenbrock, through the story that I found out, through some mutual friends of theirs, and got introduced to Craig Wallenbrock. Well, Craig Wallenbrock, one of his philosophies that he teaches is he teaches his students to take the fastball as deep as possible in the zone. Okay, and JD Martinez, in order to be able to do that, right? And MLB baseball Mark DeRosa did a great cut up of JD about a month ago. Okay, and his you can be late to the baseball as long as your barrel is in the zone. Okay, and that's why if you get your barrel flat, and that's why the rip grip is so important, is if you can get your barrel into the zone sooner, you can be, even if you're late to the fastball, as long as your barrel is there, you're going to hit more balls hard opposite field. And so it was great that the breakdown that they did for JD, he was basically 33% left field, 33% right center field, 33% right field. And so because of being able to get your barrel back here into the zone sooner, you may be late to it, but because your barrel's on it, and Drew told you that day, instead of weak ground balls, weak, fly balls that are tailing, you're hitting more balls hard because your barrel's in the zone. And so, and this all was, this is how it all came about. It really kind of solidified what we were trying to do.
Yes, absolutely.
With the Rip Grip Pro, coming across some of these stories and talking to some of the people and what it does, the opposite, hitting balls hard opposite field. It really just, it just kept ramping up my enthusiasm for what the product does.
100%. Tress, where do they go, and what's the cost of the Rip Grip Pro? Let's put it right on the table for them.
$24.99. If you go to www.rippro.com, that's our website. You can buy them there. Working on trying to get it rolled out in some other places. We are, if you're in the California area, in the Bakersfield area, there's a DBAT facility in Bakersfield that sells them out of their facility there. I'm continuing to work, trying to get into some other facilities, and hopefully DBAT is one of them. But the easiest place, go to the website. We're on Instagram, Facebook. It'll take you to our website, www.ripgrippro.com. You can get them there. Simple and
all the testimonials, everything's right there. I know I'm going to talk to him. I don't know what we'll be able to do or whatever or not, but I'm going to talk to him about trying to get it onto our website as well or whatever, and that helping Tress out and Drew for sure, because like we said, we bang it, got our stamp of approval. Our Nolan has been using it. Tress was nice enough to send it up to him. I haven't been able to get it over here in France for my guys yet or whatever or not, but we certainly will moving forward. I'll be back home though. I'm looking forward to putting it in the hands, watching Nolan go to work, because he's spoken tremendously highly of it, and basically validated everything you and Drew have said. He said it's hard to believe. I know, watching or listening,
Yeah.
and that's the best way to be, Nation. That's why we love you, Nation. That's why we do it for you. We can't do it without you. We want you guys to push us. We want you to push the envelope for the best products. So when we have people on like Tress and Drew, you know, if it's the stamp of approval, it's validated. We're not here selling everything and anything. That's not what we want. We want your baseball journey to be the best. We also want people like Tress and Drew to be dirtbags, and they are. And they're just good salt of the earth people. My man, I love your product. We love your product. You and Drew, quality. Stay true to your mission. Stay true to your vision. One person at a time. It's awesome every time you get a sale, isn't it? One person,
Absolutely.
making a difference. That's what it's all about, brother. Hey, that's what it's all about. It's the same as growing the nation, one person at a time. So, Dirtbags, please share, pass this on, share the Rip Grip Pro, tell your friends, tell your teammates, tell your players, tell your coaches. Tell your other parents, hey, watch the video. You want to see this one. This is a pretty neat little product. You want to check it out. ripgrippro.com. If they have anything, I'm sure you're just like Drew. You're more than happy to talk to them about, right, Tress?
Absolutely. Any questions? Anything. I'm a parent. I'm a parent first, and so I'll answer any questions. I'll do whatever I can do to help them. And if it makes my kid think he can hit 300, I'm all for it. And so yeah, anything I can do for anybody, I'll absolutely have a conversation about it.
Thank you, sir. Again, appreciate you to the end of the world being on with me. Fantastic. So, Dirtbags, go ahead, ripgrippro, all right, .com. Get there, check it out, get it on your hands. If you're still a little bit hesitant, Tress just gave you the seal of acceptance. Reach out to them. Let's make it work. Let's make it get in there and make your baseball journey the best possible journey it can possibly be as a player, as a parent, as a coach. Can't thank you enough. Until the next episode, you know what time it is. It's time to get up, get after it, and get dirty.